In the sleepy coastal town of Port Haven, North Carolina, the air always carried a faint tang of salt and regret. The town was a patchwork of weathered clapboard houses, a crumbling pier, and a courthouse that loomed over Main Street like a stern grandfather who'd seen too much. On the morning of March 17, 2025, the sun was just beginning to burn off the fog when Evelyn Brooks pulled into the courthouse parking lot. At 58, she moved with a deliberate grace, shoulders squared, graying curls pinned back, her hazel eyes sharp enough to cut through the haze. She was no stranger to this building. For 25 years, she'd walked its creaking floors, first as a public defender scraping by on grit and coffee, then as a prosecutor who'd made it her mission to root out the town's quiet corruption. Now, she was Judge Evelyn Brooks, the first black woman to hold the county's highest judicial seat. It was a title that sat heavy on her shoulders, not because of pride, but because of the whispers that followed her every step. Port Haven was a place caught between past and present. Its charm, lighthouse postcards and shrimp boils, hid a stubborn undercurrent of resentment. Evelyn knew it well. She'd grown up here, one of the few black kids in a school where the history books stopped at 1965. She'd fought her way out, through law school, through courtrooms where her voice was dismissed as too loud, too bold. Now she presided over those same rooms, and some folks still couldn't stomach it. That morning, she stepped through the courthouse's metal detector, her briefcase swinging lightly at her side. The security guard, a wiry man named Tom, tipped his cap. "Morning, Judge Brooks." She nodded back, a tight smile flickering across her face. Her mind was already on the day's docket. A trespassing case, a DUI, nothing out of the ordinary. But as she approached the courtroom, her clerk, a young woman named Mia with a nervous energy, intercepted her. "Judge, Officer Grady's already inside. He's agitated." Evelyn's brow furrowed. She knew Grady. Everyone did. Officer Daniel Grady, late 30s, broad-shouldered, with a buzz cut and a swagger that screamed small-town king. He'd been on the force for 15 years, a fixture in Port Haven's police department, the kind of cop who thought the badge was a crown. Complaints trailed him like exhaust, rough arrests, verbal threats, but they never stuck. Friends in high places, favors traded over beers at the VFW hall, kept him untouchable. Evelyn had seen his name in too many files, smelled the arrogance wafting off him in every courtroom appearance. She didn't trust him, and he didn't respect her. "Agitated about what?" she asked, adjusting her glasses. "The trespassing case," Mia said, lowering her voice. "He arrested the kid yesterday, 17, caught on private land near the old mill. Grady's pushing for max bail, says the boy's a flight risk." Evelyn's lips pressed into a thin line. She stepped into the courtroom, still in her coat, not yet robed. The room was sparse. 2 reporters scribbling in the back, a public defender hunched over notes, and Grady, standing near the prosecution. Table, arms crossed, jaw tight. The defendant, a lanky teenager with a mop of dark hair, sat silently beside his lawyer, eyes darting like a trapped animal. Grady didn't notice Evelyn at first. He was too busy barking at the bailiff, a soft-spoken man named Henry. "Let's move this along, huh? I've got real work to do." Evelyn set her briefcase down on a side table, flipping it open to check the case file. Her presence was quiet, unassuming, too quiet for Grady's liking. He turned, squinting at her. "You with the defense or something?" His tone was sharp, dismissive. She didn't answer, just kept scanning the page. The room held its breath. Grady's patience snapped. He strode toward her, boots thudding against the hardwood. "Hey, I'm talking to you. This isn't a damn library. Answer me." And then it happened. His hand lashed out, a quick, backhanded slap that caught her across the cheek. The sound cracked through the air like a whip. The reporters froze mid-scribble. The public defender gasped. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to hum louder in shock. Evelyn's head turned slightly from the force, a red welt blooming on her skin. But she didn't stumble. She didn't cry out. Slowly, she straightened, her gaze locking onto Grady's with a cold, unyielding intensity. He smirked, stepping back as if he'd just swatted a fly. "Learn your place," he muttered, loud enough for the room to hear. "This is my courtroom." A whisper from the back. "Holy hell." Another. Did he just... Evelyn took one step forward, then another. The silence thickened, pressing down on everyone. Grady's smirk faltered as he registered the shift, the way the bailiff stiffened, the way Mia's eyes widened behind him. He still didn't know. Not yet. Officer Grady, Evelyn said, her voice low and steady, each word a blade. Did you just strike me? He blinked, caught off guard. I didn't know who you were. You're not in your robe. I thought... You thought, she cut in, that I was someone you could hit without consequence. She stepped closer, her presence towering despite her modest height. Is that how you treat people in this courtroom? Grady's mouth opened, then shut. He glanced around, seeking an ally, but the room was a wall of stunned faces. Evelyn turned, walking toward the bench with measured steps. She climbed the platform, stood behind the judge's seat, and faced him fully. The realization hit him like a freight train. His eyes widened, his posture sagged. You're Judge Evelyn Brooks, she said, her voice ringing clear. And you, Officer Grady, just assaulted a sitting judge in open court. The gavel hadn't even dropped, but the weight of her words did. Grady stood rooted, sweat beading on his forehead. The reporters scrambled, pens flying across notebooks. The teenager at the defense table stared, mouth agape. Evelyn sat, folding her hands on the bench. Let's be clear, she said. Did you or did you not strike me? I didn't mean, he stammered. Yes or no, she snapped. Yes, he admitted, voice barely audible. She nodded once, then turned to Mia. Enter into the record that Officer Daniel Grady has confessed to assaulting a judicial officer in the presence of witnesses. She glanced at Henry. Bailiff, is this room under surveillance? Yes, Your Honor, Henry replied, voice tight. Cameras caught everything. Good. Evelyn's eyes returned to Grady. Then we have audio and visual evidence of your actions. Ignorance is not a defense, officer, nor is arrogance. Grady puffed up, desperation creeping in. You're blowing this out of proportion. I was doing my job. That kid's a troublemaker, caught red-handed. The gavel slammed, sharp and final. You do not justify violence by pointing at a child, Evelyn said, her tone ice cold. This hearing is compromised. The trespassing arraignment is postponed until tomorrow. Bailiff, detain Officer Grady in holding until I say otherwise. No cuffs, yet. He's still an officer and will respect that much. But he doesn't leave this building. You can't do this, Grady shouted, chest heaving. I didn't. And no. And yet, Evelyn said quietly, you knew enough to hit me. Henry moved toward Grady, hand resting lightly on his belt. Grady's eyes darted wildly, but no one stepped in. No one could. The door shut behind him as he was led. Out, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Evelyn retreated to her chambers, closing the door softly behind her. She hung her coat on the rack, then stood before the small mirror on the wall. The mark on her cheek was faint, but present, a reminder. She didn't touch it. She just looked, letting the moment settle. How many others had walked out of this courthouse with worse? How many had been silenced by men like Grady, by a system that let them thrive? A knock broke her reverie. It was Henry, his broad frame filling the doorway. He's in holding, Judge. Internal Affairs is sending someone. Should be here in an hour. Thank you, Henry. She paused. What's the word out there? He hesitated. Clerks say Grady's union's already circling the wagons. They'll try to spin it, say he was stressed, didn't mean it. Of course they will, she said, sitting at her desk. She pulled out a notepad and began writing. Incident. Assault in courtroom. Officer Daniel Grady. Witnesses, 6. Video. Evidence. Confirmed. Get me his file. Every complaint. Every case he's touched in the last decade. I want it flagged. Henry nodded. That's a tall order. Then we'd better climb fast. An hour later, 2 Internal Affairs agents arrived. Agent Carla Hensley, a wiry woman with a no-nonsense stare, and Agent Javier Ortiz, younger, with a quiet intensity. They sat across from Evelyn in her chambers, a thick file already open between them. We've been tracking Grady for years, Hensley said, tapping the folder. Excessive force, intimidation, 6 complaints, all dismissed. Evidence conveniently lost. Witnesses recanting. He's slippery. Slippery's over, Evelyn replied. He hit me in front of cameras. What's your move? Ortiz slid a tablet across the table. We've got the footage, clear as day. Strike, confession, all of it. We're also pulling his arrest records. There's a pattern. Disproportionate stops. Mostly young Black and Latino men. Half the cases end in pleas, even with shaky evidence. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Who's signing off on those pleas? Hensley flipped a page. Assistant DA Peter Langston. He's handled Grady's cases for years. Too many to be coincidence. Evelyn leaned back, the name sinking in. Langston. Smooth talking, golf course buddies with half the precinct. She'd clashed with him before, sensed the grease on his handshake. Dig deeper, she said. If Langston's dirty, I want proof, and I want it yesterday. Hensley smirked faintly. You don't mess around, Judge. Not when the mess is this big. By nightfall, the courthouse was quiet, but Evelyn's office burned bright. Files stacked her desk. Grady's history. A map of buried complaints. Henry brought coffee, silent as he set it down. How bad? He asked. 11 complaints, she said, not looking up. 7 tied to Langston's office. 2 body cam tapes missing, signed off by a precinct captain who retired last year. It's a damn web. Henry whistled low. You're pulling. A thread. I'm pulling the whole damn rug. Her phone rang, cutting through the stillness. She answered. Judge Brooks. A gravelly voice came through. Evelyn, it's Chief Waller. Port Haven's police chief, a man she'd known since her prosecutor days. I've seen the tape. Grady's a loose cannon. I'm not defending him. But you're stirring a hornet's nest, unions screaming, mayor's on my ass. Let me handle this internally. No, she said flatly. You had years to handle it. This isn't internal anymore. It's criminal. Evelyn, he pressed. You keep pushing. You'll bring down more than Grady. You'll fracture this town. Then it's time to break something, she said and hung up. Henry raised an eyebrow. He scared? Terrified, she replied. Good. The next morning, the courthouse buzzed. Reporters lined the steps, locals gathered with signs, some cheering Evelyn, others cursing her name. She stepped into the main courtroom, not robed, not presiding. Today, she was a witness. Agent Hensley stood beside her, a file in hand. Across the room, Ada Langston sat with a state ethics rep, a pinched man named Victor Klein. Judge Brooks, Klein began. We're here to address your recusal from the Grady case, given your involvement. As a victim. I'm stepping aside, Evelyn said, voice firm. Not because I'm compromised, but because I won't let this die quietly. I'm requesting a federal review of every case Grady touched and every prosecutor who buried his messes. Langston's face tightened. That's reckless, Judge. You're implying a conspiracy with no proof. Evelyn nodded to Hensley, who opened the file. 3 complaints against Grady, all dropped by your office despite witness statements. 2 payments from a police charity fund to a legal defense account. Your signature on both. Explain that, Mr. Langston. The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, camera clicks. Langston stood, chair scraping. This is slander. It's evidence, Evelyn shot back. And it's just the start. Klein paled. I'll need time to review. Take it, Evelyn said. But the record shows I'm recusing myself to protect justice, not to hide from it. She turned to the press. This isn't about one slap. It's about a system that lets men like Grady think they're untouchable. That ends today. Grady sat in a holding cell downtown, the concrete walls closing in. His hands no longer shook. They clenched, knuckles white. He'd thought the slap would fade. Another complaint swept away. But now the air felt different. The guard outside wouldn't meet his eyes. The silence was suffocating. The door creaked open. A man in a dark suit stepped in. Older, thin, with a voice like rust. Officer Grady, he said, tossing a folder. Onto the bench. You're in a bind. Who are you? Grady snapped. Someone who can help, or bury you. The man leaned in. Judge Brooks is tearing through your world. You've been useful to certain people, but now you're a risk. Fix it. Grady's eyes narrowed. Fix it how? Remind her she's not invincible. Subtly. The man tapped. The folder. Inside. Photos of Evelyn's sister's house. Her niece walking to the bus stop. She needs to feel the weight. Grady recoiled. You're insane. She's a judge. And you're a cop with no badge left to hide behind, the man said. Do it, or you're done. He left, the door clanging shut. Grady stared at the folder, heart pounding. This wasn't a lifeline, it was a noose. Evelyn was in her chambers when her phone buzzed. A text, unknown number. Nice family on Oak Street. Hope they stay safe. Her breath caught. She showed it to Henry, who cursed under his breath. That's a threat. It's a mistake, she said, voice steel. Get my sister's house. Watched. Call the marshals. That night, Grady slipped out of holding. No paperwork, just a quiet handoff. A burner phone and a car waited. He drove to Oak Street, hands sweaty on the wheel. He didn't plan to hurt anyone, just scare her, leave a note. But as he parked, headlights flared behind him. 4 marshals emerged, guns drawn. Drop it, Grady! He froze, then sank to his knees. The game was up. By morning, Grady was in federal custody. Evelyn met with U.S. Marshals in Raleigh, sliding the threatening text across the table. My family's under protection now, she said. I want Grady locked down, and I want whoever's pulling his strings. The marshal, a woman named Torres, nodded. We've got him. He's talking. Naming a fixer tied to the mayor's office. This goes high. Good, Evelyn said. Let it climb. The press conference came a week later. Evelyn stood on the courthouse steps, the crowd roaring. This isn't about me, she said, voice steady. It's about a system that failed us, until we made it listen. She held up a list. 9 names, officers, prosecutors, a councilman. They protected Grady. They're under investigation now. The cheers were deafening. But that night, a call came, anonymous, chilling. You've gone too far, Evelyn. She didn't flinch. She was just getting started. The days following the press conference felt like a storm gathering strength. Port Haven's streets hummed with tension. Protesters camped outside the police station, their signs reading, "No more Grady's" and "Justice starts here." Local diners buzzed with arguments, some defending the old guard, others cheering Evelyn's stand. The courthouse, once a sleepy relic, had become a lightning rod. And Evelyn Brooks, whether she wanted it or not, was its conductor. She sat in her chambers. Late that evening, the glow of her desk lamp casting long shadows across the room. Files sprawled before her. Grady's confession, internal affairs reports, and a growing list of names tied to the fixer he'd named, Victor Reese, a shadow figure with no official title but deep ties to the mayor's office. Reese was a ghost. No photo, no address, just whispers of a man who made problems vanish. Evelyn traced a finger over the latest update from Agent Hensley. Reese linked to 3 closed investigations, 2018-2022. Suspected of evidence tampering. Current location unknown. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was her sister, Marlene, her voice tight. Ev, there's a car parked across the street. Been there an hour, tinted windows. Evelyn's grip tightened on the receiver. Stay inside. Lock the doors. I'm sending someone. She hung up and dialed Henry. Get to Marlene's place. Now. Unknown vehicle watching her house. Call the marshals on your way. Henry didn't hesitate. On it. Evelyn leaned back, exhaling slowly. The threat from the night before, "You've gone too far, Evelyn," echoed in her mind. She wasn't naive. She'd known pushing this hard would draw blood, but knowing didn't soften the sting of seeing her family in the crosshairs. Marlene and her daughter, Nia, were all she had left. Her late brother's legacy, the reason she'd fought so long to make this town better. Now, they were pawns in someone's game. A knock at the door jolted her. Agent Ortiz stepped in, his face grim. "Judge, we've got something." She waved him to a chair. "Talk." He slid a thumb drive across the desk. "Grady's spilling. More. Says Reese approached him 2 years ago after a brutality complaint got too loud. Reese made it disappear. Witness moved out of state. File shredded. Grady claims it wasn't a one-off. Reese has a network. Cops, clerks, even a judge." Evelyn's pulse quickened. "A judge?" Grady didn't name names. Says he doesn't know. But he swears Reese bragged about owning the bench. We're cross-referencing judicial rulings on Grady's cases now. She plugged the drive into her laptop, pulling up the audio file. Grady's voice crackled through, rough and resigned. Reese said he had people everywhere. Said if I kept my head down, I'd never see a cell. Told me once, even the robes answer to me. I thought he was full of it. Till the complaints started vanishing. Evelyn stopped the playback, her mind racing. A judge in Reese's pocket. Port Haven Circuit had 6 active judges, herself included. She trusted 2, Hammond and Patel, both clean as far as she knew. The others. Judge Warren Tate came to mind. Older, gruff, a fixture since the 90s. She'd seen him dismiss shaky cases too quickly, wave off defense objections with a smirk. Could he be the one? Get me Tate's rulings, she said. Every case with Grady's name on it. Ortiz nodded. Already on it. Hensley's pulling records tonight. Good. And Ortiz, find Reese, he's the key. He stood, pausing at the door. Judge, you're kicking a hornet's nest bigger than we thought. Watch your back. She met his gaze. They're the ones who should be watching. Across town, Daniel Grady sat in a federal holding cell in Raleigh, the weight of his choices pressing down like damp concrete. The marshals had taken his burner phone, his gun, his bravado. All he had left was the truth, and he was trading it piece by piece for a shred of leniency. He stared at the ceiling, replaying the slap, how it felt, the sting of Evelyn's cheek against his palm, the way her eyes didn't waver. He'd thought she was nothing, a nobody in his domain. Now, she was everything collapsing around him. The door clanged open. A marshal stepped in, followed by a man in a plain suit, DOJ, judging by the badge clipped to his belt. Grady, the man said, voice flat. You've got one shot to make this easier. Reese, who's he reporting to? Grady swallowed, throat dry. I don't know. He never said names, just hinted. Big fish, though. Someone with pull. Mayor's office, maybe higher. The DOJ agent leaned in. Mayor Shelton? Maybe. Reese mentioned City Hall once. Laughed about it. Said they'd never let me fall unless I talked. Well, the agent said, you're talking now. Grady's jaw tightened. Yeah, and I'm a dead man for it. Not if we get to them first, the agent replied, then left. Grady sank back, the cell colder than ever. By midnight, Evelyn's chambers were a war room. Henry returned, confirming Marlene and Nia were safe. Marshals stationed outside their house, the mystery car gone. Hensley arrived with a stack of files, dropping them on the desk with a thud. Tate's rulings, she said. 14 cases with Grady as arresting officer. 9 dismissed. Weak evidence, procedural errors. Tate didn't blink. Evelyn flipped through the top file. A 2020 drug bust. Grady's arrest. Suspect a 19-year-old black kid. Body cam missing. Witness statement retracted. Tate's ruling. Case thrown out. No questions asked. This stinks, she muttered. There's more, Hensley said, pulling a photo from her bag. Caught this off a precinct security feed 6 months ago. Tate and Reese, parking lot behind the VFW, not exactly a judicial conference. Evelyn studied the grainy image. 2 men, heads bent close, Reese's thin frame unmistakable. Proof? Not yet, Hensley admitted. But it's a start. Then we build it, Evelyn said. Tate's dirty. I can feel it. Get this to DOJ. I want his cases audited, yesterday. Hensley nodded, then hesitated. Judge, Reese knows we're closing in. That car at your sister's, it's him flexing. Let him flex, Evelyn said, voice low. He's about to snap. The next morning, Port Haven woke to headlines. Judge Brooks targets corruption ring. The story broke wide. Grady's arrest, the threat to Evelyn's family, whispers of a fixer named Reese. Protesters swelled, chanting her name. But so did the backlash. Anonymous calls flooded the courthouse switchboard. Slurs, threats, promises of ruin. A brick sailed through a clerk's car window, a note taped to it. Back off. Evelyn stood at her office window, watching the chaos unfold. Below, her phone rang, Chief Waller again. She answered, bracing herself. Evelyn, "This is madness," he said, voice strained. "You've got the town tearing itself apart. Tate's lawyering up. The mayor's threatening budget cuts. Call this off." "No," she said. "You call off your dogs. Reese is yours. I know it." A long pause. "You're wrong," Waller said, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Then prove it," she snapped, and hung up. Henry stepped in, holding a manila envelope. "This just came. No sender." She opened it, pulling out a single photo. Nia at the bus stop, taken that morning. On the back, scrawled in red ink, "Last warning." Her stomach dropped, but her resolve hardened. She grabbed her phone, dialing Torres at the marshal's office. "Reese is escalating. I want my niece pulled from school. Full protection on my family, and I want him found, now." "Done," Torres said. "We're tracing the photo. Stay sharp, Judge." That afternoon, the courthouse was a fortress. Marshals at every entrance, reporters cordoned off. Evelyn met with DOJ Rep Lisa Carter, a stern woman with a briefcase full of unsealed records. "Grady's singing," Carter said. "Named Tate. In 2 cases. Says Reese paid him to kill complaints. We've got a wiretap request on Tate's phone." Evelyn nodded. "And Reese?" "Slippery," Carter admitted. "But we've got a lead." Burner phone pinged near the mayor's vacation. "Home last night." "Shelton," Evelyn said, the pieces clicking. "He's the top." "Maybe," Carter cautioned. "We need hard evidence." "Then get it," Evelyn said. "I'm not stopping." Across the county, Reese sat in a dimly lit cabin, the mayor's retreat tucked among pine trees. His thin fingers tapped a burner phone, eyes flicking to the window. He'd sent the photo, pushed the buttons. Brooks should have backed off. Instead, she doubled down. He dialed a number, voice low. "She's not folding," a smooth voice answered. "Mayor Shelton." "Then make her. Grady's done. Tate's cracking." "We can't lose this," Reese smirked. "You're next if I go down." "Then don't," Shelton snapped, and the line went dead. Reese stood, grabbing a duffel bag, cash, fake IDs, a gun. Time to vanish. But as he stepped outside, headlights cut through the dusk. Marshals swarmed, voices barking, "Victor Reese, hands up!" He froze, bag slipping from his grip. The noose tightened. Back in Port Haven, Evelyn received the call at 7 p.m. Reese in custody, caught fleeing. She exhaled, but the fight wasn't over. Tate was next, then Shelton. The system wasn't just cracked, it was crumbling. She stepped onto the courthouse steps that night, facing a sea of cameras. "This isn't victory," she said. "It's a beginning. We've named 9, more are coming. Justice doesn't whisper here anymore." The crowd roared. But in the shadows, someone watched, plotting the next move. Evelyn felt it. The war wasn't won. Not yet. The arrest of Victor Reese sent shockwaves through Port Haven. By the next morning, the news was everywhere. TV screens in diners, radio chatter on fishing boats, headlines screaming, "Fixer caught, ties to mayor suspected." The courthouse? Steps were a circus. Protesters waving signs, reporters shouting questions, a lone trumpeter playing Sweet Justice on the corner. Inside, Evelyn Brooks sat in her chambers, the weight of the moment pressing down like a storm cloud about to break. Agent Hensley burst in, breathless, a tablet in hand. "Reese is talking. Gave up Tate. Says he funneled cash through a shell. Company to kill 3 cases. And Shelton, he's the puppet master. Reese claims the mayor greenlit everything. Evidence dumps, witness payoffs, even the threats to your family." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Proof?" Hensley tapped the screen. "Wire transfer records. $50,000 from Shelton's campaign fund to Reese's account, dated last year. Plus a recorded call, Shelton telling Reese to handle the Brooks problem after Grady's arrest." Evelyn leaned back, the pieces locking into place. Mayor Shelton, Port Haven's golden boy. 3 terms of charm and promises. She'd never liked him, his slick smiles hiding something rotten. Now, the rot was exposed. "Where's Reese now?" "Federal. Lockup in Raleigh," Hensley said. "DOJ's moving fast. Indictments for Tate and Shelton by noon. And Grady? Pleading out. 5 years, maybe less with his testimony." Evelyn nodded, but her mind was already on the bigger fight. This wasn't just about 3 men. It was about the machine they'd built, the one that had crushed people under its gears for decades. She stood, grabbing her coat. "Get Carter on the line. I want a public hearing, full transparency. This ends in the open." By 10 a.m., the federal courthouse in Raleigh was packed, standing room only, marshals lining the walls. Evelyn sat in the witness box, not as a judge, but as a citizen, her voice steady as she faced the DOJ panel. "On May 17th, Officer Daniel Grady struck me in my own courtroom," she began. "He thought I was powerless. He was wrong. That slap wasn't just an assault. It was a symptom of a system that's been sick for years." The lead prosecutor, Lisa Carter, stepped forward. "Judge Brooks, you've alleged a conspiracy reaching the highest levels of Port Haven's government. What evidence supports this?" Evelyn gestured to the files stacked beside her. "Testimony from Grady and Reese. Financial records tying Mayor Shelton to payoffs. A pattern of dismissed cases under Judge Tate. Threats to my family traced to Reese's burner phone. This isn't one bad apple. It's an orchard gone to rot." The room buzzed. Carter held up a transcript. "For the record, we've confirmed Reese's claims. Shelton authorized intimidation tactics against you, Judge Brooks, after you refused to back down. Tate altered rulings for cash. We're unsealing 27 related cases for review." A murmur swept the crowd. Evelyn's gaze shifted to the gallery, where Port Haven residents watched, some with hope, others with fury. She spotted Marlene and Nia in the back, safe now, flanked by marshals. Her chest tightened, but she pressed on. "This isn't about me," she said. "It's about every person who walked into that courthouse and left with less than they deserved. We're done letting silence protect the guilty." The defense, representing Tate and Shelton, both absent pending arrest, tried to counter. A young attorney, sweating through his suit, stood. "Judge Brooks, isn't this personal? You were attacked. Can you claim objectivity?" Evelyn's eyes locked onto him. "It's personal because it happened to me. It's justice because it happened to others first. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for the truth." The panel nodded, and Carter closed the session. "Indictments are forthcoming. This court will oversee a full investigation into Port Haven's judicial and police systems. Judge Brooks, your testimony has been invaluable." Evelyn stepped down, the weight lifting slightly. But as she left the stand, her phone buzzed. A voicemail. Blocked number. She played it in the hallway, Henry at her side. Shelton's voice slithered through, low and bitter. "You think you've won, Evelyn? You've burned this town down. Hope you're ready for the ashes." She deleted it, meeting Henry's gaze. "He's wrong," she said. "We're not burning it down. We're clearing the rubble." The fallout came fast. By week's end, Tate was in custody, caught trying to flee to Georgia. Shelton resigned in disgrace, arrested hours later at his beach house, a suitcase half-packed. The indictments snowballed. 2 more officers, a clerk, a councilwoman, all tied to Reese's web. Port Haven's police department faced federal oversight. 42 convictions were flagged for review. The town reeled, split between outrage and relief. Evelyn stood on the courthouse steps one last time, the sun dipping low, painting the sky orange. The crowd was smaller now, the frenzy fading, but their eyes still held fire. "This isn't the end," she said, voice carrying over the murmurs. "It's a start. We've named 14 who betrayed us. More may come. But justice isn't a moment. It's a promise we keep fighting for." A cheer rose, ragged but real. She stepped back, letting the sound wash over her. Henry approached, hands in his pockets. "They're calling you a hero." "I'm no hero," she said. "Just a woman who got tired of losing." He smirked. "What now?" She looked out at the town, its scars, its stubborn beauty. "Now, we rebuild." 2 months later, Evelyn sat on the porch of her childhood home, a modest bungalow on the edge of Port Haven. The air smelled of salt and pine, the quiet unbroken except for Nia's laughter as she chased fireflies in the yard. Marlene joined, her, handing over a glass of iced tea. "Saw you on the news again," she said. "They're renaming the courthouse plaza after you." Evelyn chuckled. "I told them no monuments. They didn't listen," Marlene teased, then softened. "You did good, Ev. Nia's proud. Says her auntie's a fighter." Evelyn watched her niece, the girl's silhouette against the dusk. I fought for her, she said quietly. For all of them. That night, she walked to the water's edge, the tide lapping at her shoes. The lighthouse blinked in the distance, a steady pulse. Port Haven wasn't healed. Reform was slow, resistance fierce. But it was awake. She'd turned on the light, and the shadows couldn't hide anymore. In her pocket, a letter from the state judiciary, an offer to stay on, lead the change. She folded it, tucking it away. She'd done her part. The next fight belonged to new hands she'd helped free. Evelyn smiled faintly, then turned back home, the sound of the waves a quiet promise of peace.